Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Inspired by Christ podcast. I'm your host, Kourtney Goff. As always, we have regular conversations with genuine people, just to be able to understand how Christ has brought them closer to Him, and while in the process of inspiring our audience, the viewers, the people who come on here watching, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. You never know who needs this inspiration to get closer to Christ. But man, we got a special one today. We got a solid cat, man. Look, I'm gonna run down the accolades of this dude real quick, and I'm gonna give him his just due. And if I miss anything, let me know. So first, we're gonna say, and again, his name is Mike Williams, Mike Will the Great. We're gonna go with a girl dad, music producer, artist, movie producer, actor. Come on. Then we gonna jump from that. We're gonna go to a social media influencer, content creator, producer, all of these things. And if anything, most importantly, one of the things that a lot of people know him for right now is the Chicago do's and don'ts. Welcome, man, Mike Williams to the podcast, man. Thank you for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. And they on social media, I go by FairPlay 2333, and FairPlay is a name I've been having since I was young. So I just want y'all to know that's one of my names too, besides Mike Williams.
Yeah, see, look, I know him as Mike Will because even though, what I mean, everybody know him that, but I know him from back in the day. We played ball together in college. And from that point, we used to always say a saying like with players I met in college, basketball made us family. And this is one of those situations where playing basketball together, having the opportunity to play we in college as kids to now being adults and fathers, both being girl dads, and the opportunity again to come back full circle and talk about Christ, man, is beautiful. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and make sure y'all follow him on all of his social medias at FairPlay, and you could get it from there. So look, let's jump right into these get to know you questions so people could get to know you, and then from that point we'll jump into the focus four questions. So my first question I have for you, what's your favorite part about being a girl dad?
Just my daughter, to be honest. That's my favorite part.
Mhm.
Um, just when she was younger, being able to have that super bond with her just growing up. Um, now as she's gotten older, she's become a lot more independent. But just actually another thing too is just seeing how much like me she is. Like just with some of the mannerisms and the way she carry herself and some of the things she do. And one thing I like about my daughter, and I hope she never loses, is like she's very outspoken. She'll
Yeah,
speak her mind. I mean, in certain situations as being a kid, she won't necessarily speak her mind as comfortable as she will once she becomes older.
yeah,
But when your child is young and they speak their mind and you allow them to like blossom that, they're
yeah.
gonna be in a much better position when they get older to just be great. But you know, that's one of my first true loves. You know what I'm saying? When I look outside of just life and just things that matured me, things that made me take life into perspective, just being able to like truly hang with my daughter and truly like enjoy her presence and just seeing how she even have a sense of humor like me now, like just stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool though.
That's beautiful, and I love asking that question to girl dads because I'm a girl dad too, and I just see the same interaction with everybody. Like everybody starts smiling. Like even
Yeah.
the toughest guys, you got daughters. It's like, all right, man, you gotta let it out because they bring that side out of us that's different. But another thing that you said that I really enjoy, and that's something that we do with our daughters too, is allowing them like sometimes especially with growing up in a black household, sometimes like don't be so smart with your mouth or don't say that. But to your point, how can you channel that because you don't want them to lose their voice, especially as girls or growing up to be women, to have that voice. If something not right, hey, no, speak up. But and the thing that I learned a lot from my father growing up, he would say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So that's something that we carry down to our girls. Like, listen, you could say something to me, you could tell me how you feeling, but it's how you say it to make sure that you got reverence, you got respect when you're saying it, and even to other people. So just to chime in on that, I agree with you 1000% with that.
Yeah, that's always true. I mean, I always tell my daughter she can speak her mind to anybody about anything. Just keep in mind that she's supposed to be respectful. Like that's it. But a lot of times, like you say, we stifle their voices. And one of the craziest things I be thinking about with myself personally, like I do podcasts now, I do like my power channel, I do all of this talking now. But growing up, I was one of them kids who was always in trouble for talking, always like suspended from school from speaking my mind, getting into it, those type of things, right? So, um, you just kind of think about you never know what you may be stifling your child from becoming by telling them,
Exactly.
stop flipping in that room. Well,
Yeah,
you just stopped them from being a gymnast because instead of
exactly.
being like, yo, don't flip on that bed, we're gonna go get you some mats to flip on.
Exactly, exactly. And again, that's the things we learn from our parents, and then now we can say, okay, how can you do that differently? Because that take it to a whole nother level. Like you said, stop flipping. You could be stopping her from being the next Simone Biles. Like you just never know where that is, or the next news anchor, the next black woman to be like Stephen A. version of her own self. So no, I definitely agree with you. My next background question I want to ask you, knowing with you being a movie producer, a music producer, but then you also on the other side of the lens as well, you're an actor, you're also a artist, a music artist.
Right.
So I want to understand like which one do you prefer better? Do you like to be behind the lens or in front of the lens? Like which one do you prefer the most?
I like to do it all, to be honest, bro. I can't lie. I definitely like to do it all. I like to be in front of the camera. I like to be behind the camera. And I think just all forms of creating. I think being in front of the camera is more gratifying because you kind of depend on yourself to get everything right. And if somebody don't get it right, you don't have nobody to blame. But I think
Right,
being behind the camera is kind of important because you can help people see dreams come to fruition that they probably would never see. Like, so when you talk about my movie, I did a movie, an independent film called No Time
wow,
to Play Fair. Right now, it's at like 270,000 views or something like that on YouTube.
talk that
And
talk.
so with that, that's like an opportunity that a lot of people from my projects would have never had if I wouldn't have brung it together. So from that standpoint, a lot of people start being able to see a lot of different things that they would do or they could do that they wouldn't have seen if I wouldn't have been like, yo, let's shoot the movie. And obviously they have the vision to understand it can work, let's do it.
Yeah.
But without that first little opportunity of like, hey, bro, we can do this. I got somebody to record. That never happens.
No, I agree. And even just thinking through that process of talking about the two different perspectives of like being in front of the lens or behind the lens and hearing that you say that, and I know what type of person you are, what type of heart that you have, where you really want to be able to help the next person. I've seen you, even with me, with helping different things that I'm doing, trying to get on social media and helping me set things up. Hey, you should do this, do that, or do that way. That's just who you are, and I feel like you get a real enjoyment of helping other people, which that again shows a lot about you. So again, if y'all actors, actress, are you doing your artistry, your music artist? Look, he definitely a person to connect with. He got a lot of connects, but then not only that, he plugs in a lot of people to where they need to be. So my next question I have for you, because you create so much different content, like you got, like you said, podcast hosts, you got movies, you got social media influence. What's that process look like for you? Because you got a lot of content that you put out day over day, like year over year, a lot of content. What does that process look like for you creating that content?
So I'll tell you the what. So I
You don't
think
got
that
to get the sauce away.
no.
But yeah.
I'm not. It's not even. So I think when it comes, I think so. Like when we look at what you do, like you say, me and you talked about things.
Mhm.
It's only one Kourtney, so you can tell them the formula, but they'll never be able to take the sauce from you. So with
Mhm.
me, it's not even a problem about that, the formula. But
That's
the first thing I'll say is resilience and persevering. You
mm,
gotta know that you're gonna be what you want to be before you become it. Because
yeah,
if you don't believe in yourself, everything you doing, it's just gonna fall down. And even I don't know what scripture it is. You might know, but faith without work is a dead end.
come
So,
on,
and also on the reverse, work without faith is a dead end.
come
So
on,
I
come
could be
on.
sitting outside like I'm just working trying to get rid of these weeds, but I don't have no belief that they're gonna go. So I'm not even working as hard in the yard to get rid of them because I don't believe that it's gonna go nowhere. So I
Right.
think that's how it comes with me. But to give a breakdown, And when I say resiliency and having belief, well, I started off with the music. Um, After music, I was kind of like, at some point, I was just kind of like, I did a feature with a couple of big artists. Those were taking off. Then the pandemic kind of hit when I did one of those features. And I was just like, after that, I was like, man, if I could write a rap, I could do a movie. So I ended up calling up one of my friends. He filmed for me, Jay Think Ill, Think Ill Media,
Mhm.
Everyday Jay. And he was just like, yo, bro. I was like, hey, I want to do a movie. Can you record? He was like, I never filmed a movie, but I'm sure we can get it done.
Right out, right.
So from that part, we started filming the movie. And as I started to do the movie, before that, I had started to do the podcast around the same time.
Mhm.
So I was just like, okay, the music, I need to get the music out. So if I start a hip hop podcast and talk about things that people are already looking for and already relevant, then that'll give me a chance to sneak my music in as promo. So
Mhm.
then it just kind of started from there. So I think one word that Jay is like a marketing guru, right? And one thing that we always talk about is vertical integration. So what
Yeah.
is vertical integration if you break
That's,
it down into like layman terms, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I may be a rapper, but rap is not my ceiling, right? So
Mhm.
I'm good at storytelling. So maybe I could start a series, maybe I could start a movie, maybe I can do books, and then you just continue from there. So if you can do books and you know how to write and you got it down, you can teach other people how to write. And then from teaching other people how to write, so it's just like I say, vertical integration. So you
Yeah.
might look at it and say, bro, do a lot of different things, but everything starts as a reflection of music, but it also starts as a reflection of just my life. And so that's how I'm able to keep going at it because I got so many hood stories. I got so many basketball stories. I've met so many characters in my life. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
even when we speaking about the sauce, you one of the characters in my life, but not like in a bad way
I know.
character.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that for like the fans.
No, no,
So
no. Right.
whenever I tell somebody, I'm like, so when you first was playing, I didn't like your game because you were like on the slower side of things. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, this guy is a testament to hard work
Mhm.
because he's the only person I seen come back from an injury faster and shoot better. Like
Right.
normally people come back shooting better, but they a set shooter. But
Right.
Ian, you came back stronger. So that's like
Yeah.
something that when everybody telling me about their injury and they got to get through it and this and that, you always somebody that I refer to. Like, nah, I know somebody who told their meniscus, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to come back faster, shooting better, stronger, because I've seen it done before. But it's about the resiliency and the perseverance of it.
Nah, that's a fact, bro. One, I appreciate that because I hopefully my wife watches because I be telling her all the time she ain't seen me do my hoop thing and I be telling her like, yo, let's watch these DVDs, like
And
check it out. But nah, that's a fact. I appreciate that, bro. And
yeah,
I
you was
actually
a problem.
Yo, I actually segued to the next question that I have, the background one. Who would you say is the best NBA player that, or just not even NBA, who's the best player out of Chicago ever?
Oh, hold on. I said I have to say Patrick Beverly.
Ooh, what?
A lot of people gonna say, hold on, something beeping in my house. Hold on, bro. Give me 1 second.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead. Patrick Beverly, come on, man. Listen, he gonna be right back, but listen, you can't say Patrick Beverly from Chicago. Like, don't get it twisted. Patrick Beverly definitely, he got a lot of buckets in high school for sure. And I remember when I lived in Chicago for a little bit, him doing pro-am, he did a lot of work. He averaged
Listen,
like 40 something,
Patrick
but
Beverly,
he
bro.
averaged like 40. I remember going to the Malcolm X and he did the pro-am and all that, but nah, bro. I'm gonna let you go though, but I'm gonna tell you who I think mine is, but you go right ahead. And I ain't even from Chicago. I was there for a little bit, but I don't know. I'm gonna let you go, but I do respect Pat. I do respect Pat game.
So Patrick Beverly senior year, he averaged 37 points,
Mm-hmm.
eight steals, however many assists, and he was Mr. Basketball. If I'm not mistaken, he ended up winning a state championship. I know he won a city championship for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why he's my best player is because he is the epitome of resiliency, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like, without speaking on any other players, Patrick Beverly is your favorite Chicago basketball player favorite basketball player, right?
Mm.
Um, I've seen him destroy some of the top tier Chicago guys.
Mhm.
I ain't gonna really, I ain't gonna say, I ain't gonna say who they is. I'll say them story for another day.
No, I've heard it, and that's why I knew I definitely have him on a list. Like, but when I was thinking about it, because I'm like, okay, like for me, I would say Derrick Rose or Isaiah Thomas. For me, even D Wade up there too, but you know what I'm saying. But I think like just watching, like I had the opportunity to see D Rose like in person.
I did too. I played against him in high school. I think it was like my junior year or something. But look, I played against Pat too, right?
And
And so
Pat,
I think one thing we have to look at when we look at D Rose was like he was like he was like a Mozart or a Beethoven. He was somebody who started real young,
mhm.
and then people just kind of like ushered him through his career. So I'm not saying that he didn't work hard to
Yeah,
get as good as did, but he had like that fence around him.
yeah, so he had a structure.
Whereas Pat was just somebody who was like, for lack of a better term, figuring out as he went along. And
Mhm.
he always knew he was gonna make it where he make it. I got some crazy Patrick Beverly stories, bro. But um, it was just like he always knew he was going to make it. So, he went to Arkansas. Whatever ended up happening at Arkansas, he didn't finish his career at Arkansas. He
Mhm.
went over to Europe, was averaging like 20 points a game, winning dunk contests, MVP.
Mhm.
And then he ended up coming to the NBA and sticking around for more years than a lot of players who was ranked higher
Yeah,
than him
that's a
coming
fact.
out of Illinois. So that even
Yeah,
tells you what type of person he is in his work ethic.
his
And one thing
mentality.
you can't teach is that motor, man. And then also,
He a dog.
I'm in a sports group, UFU on Facebook, right? And I always big up Patrick Beverly.
Mhm.
And the one reason I always big him up is because he got all of those intangibles, right?
Mhm.
So me and my homie, we've been talking about something for the last few days, and it's accountability, right? So
Yeah.
in life, accountability hit men different and it hit us harder, right? So
Mhm.
in life, a lot of people like to use the index finger, but they don't like to use the thumb. So
Mm.
I feel like Patrick Beverly was one of those people who was in a bunch of tough situations, whether he caused the situation or whether the situation just happened
Yeah.
just because of his environment. He
Mhm.
was always a person who pointed the thumb and said, I need to do better. I need to change. I need to work harder. And so I think a lot of players, especially coming from a place like Chicago, it's easy to get caught up in a lot of stuff. You lived in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Come on,
So
man.
it's super simple to just be in a situation and the situation turn from a basketball game to a fight, from a
Shoot
fight
up.
to a shootout.
Come on,
So it's just
quick.
like when I see what Pat and then another thing I want to say, I think Southside players get a lot more recognition because it's a lot more Southside players to come before them.
I was just about to say that. I see what you're saying, like, because there's more already coming from that. So then now they already coming back saying South Side, all from South Side Chicago versus West Side is gonna be a little bit. You still have people from the West Side, but it's fewer than it is on the South Side. No, that makes sense. I agree though. I like I said, I was leaning towards them two people. Even thought about Tim Hardaway too. But from a standpoint, I just seeing D Rose play in person, and at that time, him and Rondo was like my favorite two guards to watch, and they were just
Right.
so fast and just man, they knew the game so crazy. But no, that's big up to Pat Bev, man. I agree with you. I tell that to people all the time. 'Cause you talk about basketball, and you tell people who don't know basketball, they're like Pat Beverly trash, and I'm like, you don't know basketball. You can't know basketball because you need that type of person on your team and the mentality that he bring, and like you said, like perseverance, resilience. Like for him to go all the way over there and then come back and take your job, like come on, he took the hard route. You know what I'm saying? He took the stairs. So most people took the elevator, went to the school they were supposed to, top school, blue chip, go right to the draft. He went a whole nother route and still in the league longer than all them cats, like how you said. So no, I
Man,
definitely agree with you 1000%. Let's transition right now into the 4 core questions and try to inspire people to get closer to Christ. So my question for you is, why did you give your life to Christ?
So I want to premise this right quick because I know people gonna see a lot of my content. So I believe in Christ, but I don't actively do the things that I should. And I know that you should be keeping within the walk. And every day is another day to be the person that you're supposed to be and do the things you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And I always premise it by that because, like, when I talk to you, I
Mhm.
talk to you about, like, bro, you got it. You doing what your wife, your kids. You
Mhm.
waited till you was married to have kids, et cetera, right?
Right, right,
And I
right,
know
right.
this is turning into like a big up KG podcast, but
I appreciate it,
this
man.
conversations we have off air, how I really
That's a,
feel about you,
that's
right?
a Snapple fact.
So the one thing I never want to do is I never want people to look at me as the example and say, well, if he's like that, I might as well stay where I'm at. So that's the premise. But the thing basically it boils back to my grandma. You know what I'm saying? She raised me up in church. She raised me reading the Bible to me and just instilling into me, what the Bible is and its importance and the accountability of the Bible and stuff like that. And I think we see a lot of people fighting against the Bible, but one of the things I talked about earlier is accountability.
Yeah,
People don't really understand that they not really fighting against the Bible. They fighting against the fact that it holds you accountable for the
yeah.
things that you do.
Come on, man. And I was actually listening to something on YouTube last night where it was talking about that. Like the Bible, when you read it, it's to give you knowledge to know that you can't follow these commands. There's no way that you're gonna follow them. The only way that you're gonna be saved is by Christ, is by the
Right.
blood. So it's like it's to point to us and realize like we can't do it by ourselves. And even going a little bit into what you were saying in regards to you said about like what you do in your different podcast videos and things like that. We all working to be better. You know what I mean? Like we're all in a place where it's like progression over perfection. And I always say that all the
Right.
time, talk to different people because it's like we got to strive to get better every single day. And as we can all get closer to God, it's things that I used to do that I ain't think nothing of it. But as you get closer and closer to God, it's gonna be things that you don't even have the appetite no more for because spiritually you are rich, and it's like, you know what? That I might would have liked that 2 years ago, or maybe 6 months ago, a month ago. But now the new me, the new Mike, the new KG. Oh yeah, now I'm not with that no more. So all I would say is that to piggyback on what you said for the people who are listening, just continue to keep going. Like as you continue to
Yeah.
keep reading, getting into
Not
fellowship, you can get closer and closer to God where you want to. What were you gonna say?
Well, I just think one of the biggest tricks in life, and not only in that, but in anything you do. And I think the best thing I could use that people can relate to is a diet. You may say, okay, this week I'm not going to eat no sweets. But then Tuesday you slip up and eat sweets. And then the first thing you do to trick yourself is say, well, I'll start next Tuesday. No, don't start next Tuesday. Keep it going Wednesday.
Exactly.
So even if I slip up on today, Thursday, I'm not gonna be like, well, next Thursday I won't commit that or I won't do that. No, you're supposed to pray about it, be conscious of it, be deliberate and not doing it again, and then tomorrow try to do that. Because what happens is it just now, obviously, KG made a great point. Like you can't save yourself. It don't come from you. It come from God. He feels that appetite for he take away those bad appetites and give you good appetites, basically to speak like that or whatever. So
All
you
right.
just have to keep going day by day and not get caught up in the process of, oh, I messed up, so I might as well. Oh, like for the man, yo, I slipped up and went back with that woman I wasn't supposed to be with that I said I was done with, or whatever the case may be. So I might as well keep dealing with her. No, nigga.
Yeah.
I mean, no, bro. You gotta just be like, nah, I did it once and it's over with. I'm
Nah.
not supposed to do that no more.
No, and that's a fact. And I think to your point, you talked about that word resilience, like and perseverance early on. So that's where that comes from. Our walk, our spiritual walk with God is going to take perseverance. It's going to take resilience where we have to be able to look at situations and say to ourselves, like, you know what? This is not the best version of me, but I'm going to get better and better as I continue to go forward and not run away from that. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people, like you said, you fall off and you just stay off the wagon. But the part of the spiritual walk is like you gonna fall because we're not perfect. No one's
Right.
perfect. So you got to be able to say, okay, even if I fall 9 times, I'm gonna get back up that 10th time, and I'm already knowing what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? So if you just continue to keep chasing it, and don't fall into sin, don't give in to sin. That's what's gonna allow us to get better and get closer to God. Because if God in your heart, He's gonna convict you, whether you think you're gonna continue to do something wrong that ain't right. Eventually, it's gonna come to you as you get closer and closer to God. So no, I definitely agree. My
So,
next, go ahead.
oh, before your next question, I wanted
Yeah.
to put something out there. Now, I'm sure y'all already know about KG books. His books are good books to read, but it's also one other book that I started reading, and it was by Edwin Cole,
Mm,
Maximizing Manhood, and he teach manhood from a Christian perspective. And I think one thing I always talk about, and I'll make this part of it quick, but a lot of times when you come from where we come from, we kind of learn manhood from a disadvantage because we learn it from the wrong perspective.
mm,
So once you built on the wrong perspective or on the wrong background, everything else you taking in and practicing is incorrect. So maximizing manhood is something that I read, and it was kind of like, oh, it was kind of like confirmation for some of the things I already knew,
yeah.
and even some of the things I didn't know, especially when it comes to dealing with your household and dealing with your wife and making your wife or your woman, well, should be your wife, a perspective. And when I say should be your wife, like you should be planning to turn your girlfriend to your fiance to your wife. That's what I mean.
That's a talk, bro. You dropping gems, you dropping them. So then from your perspective, how has Christ inspired you with all the things in your life that you've been through, just the achievements that you've had? Like, how has Christ inspired you or still inspire you?
So I think one of the biggest things I got to lean back to my grandma. So a lot of people, well, people who knew me growing up young, some of them kind of surprised at the place I am because I used to get into a lot of trouble when I was younger. And
Uh,
so one of the biggest things that happened was like a change. I don't want to necessarily say a changing point, but I think it was like a awakening in my mind that I could do better and I could strive for better. So um I had like been in trouble and I had been worrying my grandma that day. And long story short, she told me like just going outside, et cetera, et cetera. Some other things was exchanged. And then when I came back in, she was just like, man, the devil desire to take your life, but
mm,
he can't have you. And she like, go get that blessed oil. And she said a prayer for me. And in the prayer, she was like, I want you to know that God told me that before I leave this earth, I'm gonna see your name in lights. You're gonna be something special. And
mm,
so a lot of times we speak down on our children when they doing bad, or we tell them, going out there, you gonna get whatever you got coming to you, or et cetera, right? But
mm,
as a parent, when you do wrong by your child, or you send your child away in a wrong energy, which can make him or
mm,
her take that energy to another person the wrong way,
mm,
sometimes you can bring your child back in and put that good energy in them. So when you hear something like you gonna be great, the first thing you start doing is like, oh, if God said, or if my grandma or my dad or my whoever said I'm gonna be great, now you start pursuing that greatness because you being told that you're supposed to be great. So it's
mm,
like, okay, and that's not to say I haven't had faulty moments in my life where I didn't do the right thing or I fell off the track, but that inspiration that she gave me, instilled in her by God, always took me back to that point of when I'm doing the wrong things, man, I should be doing better in life.
mm.
Man, I could do, man, I'm XYZ. You know what? I'm supposed to be great. I'm supposed to be doing more than so. I think that was inspired by Christ, inspired through her.
That's beautiful, man. I love that story, and just hearing that story, what you said, with you going through that with your grandmother, she chose to love you. And you know what I mean? In that process, she loved you through action, but then she also gave you words of affirmation to pour into you to make you feel like you're loved. You are great. Your name's gonna be in the lights. And that's how God do with us. We do wrong, we sin, we can sin as soon as we get off of here. And God's still gonna wake us up. Well, hopefully, Lord willing, wake us up. He still got a roof over our head, gave us food, all
Right.
these things, breath in our body, all these different things, good health, right mind, all this stuff, even though we are sinful people. So that's how he treats us. He lead with love. You know what I mean? So that's a
Right.
beautiful thing that you had that experience with your grandma. So, All right, the next question I have for you, what advice do you have for somebody who's on the fence about giving their life to Christ? Maybe they grew up like, like you said, oh, I was in church, or my grandma told me about something, or a person that don't even know nothing about God. Like, what advice would you have for that person to bring him closer to Christ?
Um, So I think one thing that we do a lot, and before we even started, you were talking to me about the shoes behind me and stuff like that. And I
Mm,
think a lot of reasons that we don't get to what we need to get to and going to Christ and all of that is because we focus on the material things. We focus on the things that's right here, the things that if a hurricane hit my crib or if a flood hit my crib, or if somebody robbed me of these things, they all gone, right?
mm,
But what about your soul is more precious than these? Like the way I got these displayed, you have to look at your soul as more precious than these. So you want to display your soul and the way you live your life in a example to
wow.
move forward and be accountable for your soul. I think that's the key to it. Just being accountable for your soul. The same way you accountable to go out and get your money, the same way you accountable to go out to the club, the same way that you are meticulous in the things you do in your everyday life, you have to be the same way with your soul, because all of these things that we got on earth is going to pass away, and then what do you have left after that? It's your soul.
Oh, come on, man. Look, hey man, you preaching, ain't you? Look, I might as well go ahead and bring a little offering plate up in here, man. No, that's definitely a fact. It's so much value in our soul. And to your point, man, I can't even add nothing to that. That's beautiful. That's definitely gonna resonate with many people. We have to value our soul, and I love how you keep bringing up accountability. That's huge. So before we close out, real quick, I just want to give the people your favorite Bible verse and why.
Man, I guess I don't even have a favorite one right now, but I think the first thing that comes to my mind is man, I can't even think. I got so many I think, all right, I'm just gonna say the first thing that comes to my mind. Nothing's new under the sun. What
Mm,
has been done will be once again. So I don't know why I remember that one so much, but it's just like I think when I look at that one, it's just like it keeps, oh, okay. So I think the purpose of that one is it kind of keeps life into perspective.
mm,
Um, like I'm not going to be the first one to go through something good, but I'm also not going to be the first one to go through something bad. So I
mm,
think when you look at life from that perspective, you always got, it goes back to the accountability part and the eternity part.
mm.
Like everything that you doing, good or bad, has been done before. So even before even before the eternal damnation, it was already redemption for it, if that makes sense.
Nah, no, I feel you. Like it's like we just wash, rinse, repeat. And
Yeah.
and that's why we have to point back to the Bible, because the Bible is telling us what already happened so that we understand and have the answers to the test now. So no, I agree with you 1000%, man. And I really love, again, we just talked about so many different stuff. I know this episode gonna be a blessing for many people. And I want to thank you again for coming on. Make sure y'all go and follow him on all his social medias. And again, beautiful conversation, man. To all the people that's watching, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. You never know who needs this inspiration, inspire them to get closer to Christ, as well as just great conversation with everyday people. So y'all have a good one, and we'll talk with y'all soon. Thank you again, Mike. Appreciate you, FairPlay, for coming on. And everybody have a good one. Peace.